we've got to get to the bottom of this.
I used to be Mike Inventner. I gave PT his nickname. I called in. I said, hey, what's up, Gil? Hey, PT. They started laughing, and from there on out, Pete Thompson was PT.
Yeah, but
I'm pretty sure I coined that nickname.
Now, Pete Thompson, he says he's pretty sure he coined this nickname. Who gave you the name PT?
It's erroneous.
He's going to have to get in line in front of my family, which is really hard to do. I mean, my mother, may she rest in peace, was Pat Thompson, so that's a PT. My sister is Pam Thompson, so that's a PT. And then, of course, me, and so, yeah, PT really came from my family before that nice caller that wants to, say that he was the one that coined it. I mean, I appreciate, there's been a lot of people, and yes, as things happen, you picked up on it very quickly and started to call me the PT, and it stuck, and that's fine. But, some people even as far back as like college or in Omaha, when I worked in Omaha, they called me Cruiser because PT Cruiser was the popular car at that.
So you're like
PT.
You're like PT the fourth?
Yes, something like that. Yeah, Pat and Pam and Peter. There's at least three of there. Had my brother lived, there would have been a Paul. So there would have been a lot of PTs in the Thompson family.
So you believe that this gentleman's claim that he coined the phrase PT is erroneous?
I appreciate his enthusiasm, but I think he needs to get in line behind my family and others that have.
Now, when though did the PT become more of a prevalent, name for you on this particular, platform?
Oh, hands down, the minute I stepped on the platform with you. I mean, I want to say, doesn't that go back as far as 2009?
Right, because I was telling the story about when, now you could probably clean the story up for me a little bit better, when we were driving home from the Phillies game at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was saying, yeah, PT.
Yeah, very much so. We'd had a couple of frescas, couple of pops. Phillies we were high and drunk on the enthusiasm of the Phillies in the World Series again, and all the beverages.
I don't recall Aton being in the car with us.
Yeah, what was he driving?
No. Why? Am I missing a part of the story?
Oh, you said we were high and drunk.
You're missing the punchline, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got it now. Proverbially speaking, we were not literally wakey-bakey.
No, the Phillies had just gone to the World Series, and we were on the field with David Montgomery and jumping up and down, and we were at we had met the umpire, West.
Joe West.
And then us two fat asses drove over to, we went over to Gino's and Pat's, and we got one of each.
Yeah.
Wow. Strong.
Right. I mean, originally Gil wanted to go to Tony Luke's, and Tony Luke, I'm like, Gil, there's no way it's open. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Of course, we drive by there, it's not open. So we end up driving.
No, Tony Luke's is open at 11 o'clock at night.
It was not open when we drove by.
Yeah, but this was like 3 o'clock in the morning, Peter.
All right, well, whatever time it was, they weren't open. I know that part of the story. What the hell do you want? You said I'd remember it more than you. I'm failing miserably.
Yeah, I thought you did. I thought that was a more memorable night than it seemed to be for you.
No, the part I remember the most is that I was falling asleep because, God forbid, you drove. So
well,
I'm trying to drive.
Hold on a second. Somebody texted in earlier and asked why I didn't drive, and I said because we were driving the NBC 40 van.
No. That particular memorable story, we were not driving an NBC 40 van.
Oh, breaking news. So Gil could have drove.
Gil could have driven. That is 100%.
Not a possibility, 100%.
97.3 ESPN beast that has now been transformed into free beer and hot wings and is a parked billboard out on Tilton Road.
Oh, I don't know that that's actually the same truck.
Sure looks like it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't think it is, but I did see that the other day.
Okay.
That being said, that is where, I was screaming at you to make sure that you stayed awake.
Yeah.
So I
remember it well.
I know that the PT moniker has been around at least since that. So I don't know if that gentleman was around at that time.
Right? That's 2009.
Yes.
I mean, look, the story that what was it? Augie Conti, the guy that worked at you did drive up to a Flyers playoff game one time, and somehow Pete G, former producer Pete G, was in the car, and Augie witnessed this tennis match between you and PT, just both hammering me of, yeah, PT, hey, PT, yeah, PT, hey, PT, hey, PT, yeah, PT, yeah, PT, hey, PT, yeah, PT, hey, PT, yeah, PT, hey, PT, hey, PT, yeah, PT. It was like Bakita. And finally I was like, shut up!
Loud noises.
That happened.
So Augie always remembers that story. In fact, when I haven't spoken to Augie in a while, but when he calls me, he'll leave a message on my phone, and as soon as he goes to leave the message, the first thing he says, yeah, PT, hey, PT, it's Augie.
So, in other words, this gentleman did not coin the phrase PT.
No, he's been walking around for years telling everyone he meets that he started
That's
PT.
Fine. That's, look, as long as he's liking what I'm doing and a fan of me, I'm a fan of his.
Well, we didn't verify that he's a fan of you.
Yeah, he may
just
not be.
Claimed that he said, hey, hey, Gil, what's up, PT? And that we laughed and then that the name stuck. I don't recall that being the case, but I'm not calling the man a liar because, quite frankly, I don't remember.
It's a very PT-esque story. In other words, this gentleman is taking my theory of never let the facts get in the way of a good story.
All right, Pete Thompson, we got a lot of hard-hitting things we need to get into. One, how disappointed were you with the Eagles on Sunday?
Well, I've been sick the last couple days, so I haven't felt well, and they didn't do anything to ease my pain, to quote Field of Dreams.
Did you miss work?
Did I work? I've missed 2 days, the last 2 days of work. I have not been at work the last 2 days.
Man, what's going on, PT?
I just, got myself, I'm sure, one of my students, that's the nicest thing they can give you. They're cold.
Yes.
Or their fever, So, yeah, I've been sneezing, coughing, fever, achy, like it says in the commercial.
You don't have what Sam Darnold has, do you?
No. I've not been running around kissing strange people.
Okay.
No, that hasn't happened.
Just making sure.
But I did miss a couple days of school. Yeah, it was just, look, where do you start with the Eagles, Gil? I mean, my goodness gracious, all the drops, the stupid penalties, the fact that they had a chance to win the game at the end and they still found a way to blow it. That still drives me crazy a couple days later, and yet, here they are. We're on Tuesday, 2 days from now. They're going to just
shocking the world.
To me, it would be if the Eagles went into Lambeau. Listen, I guarantee you there is an odds maker out there that thinks the Eagles have a snowball's chance, and you know what, of winning.
Well, the line's 4.5, so it's not like they're an 8-point dog here,
or a 22-point dog.
All right, yeah, all right. They're not the Dolphins trying to win a football game. Fine, I'll give you that.
But you are.
But
you're implying that they're not good. If that's how you feel, that it's shocking the world, or however you want to describe the matchup in 2 days in Lambeau, I mean, that kind of says it all to me. If you're saying that, then you don't feel too confident about anything. Like some people, PT, are saying, well, they just had a lot of drops. It's okay. A bad day with some guys that aren't typically in those roles. I don't. I'm more along the side of the fence with you, Pete. Like, I think there's lack of discipline, lack of focus. There's underlying deeper issues and concerns with this Eagles team.
I mean, look, have you ever seen Jim Johnson blitz as much as he's been blitzing? That tells you that the front four are not getting home. We know they're not getting home because the 2 sacks still are from Tim Jernigan and Andrew Sendejo. That's it. That's all they have. When's the last time the Eagles had a game where they didn't even register half a sack?
You don't believe that's acceptable?
It's unacceptable to me. And I understand that Fletcher Cox is going to get double-teamed, but where are the other people? Didn't they bring Vinny Curry back because he was a veteran guy?
Well, Vinny Curry, you got to give him credit. Of all the guys, he had 2 QB hits. They only had 3.
All right, he breathed on him. That's good. I mean, look, and on the other side of the ball, it's the continuing, 2 faces of Nelson Aguilar. You love the guy that,
now, let me ask you this.
And the guy that drops the football.
Ryan felt that his response to the gentleman on Twitter was not genuine.
Well, first of all, a buddy of mine from Omaha, in fact, the buddy you met from Omaha, the one you always say that I ignored.
Oh, the guy that you ignored all night.
Yeah, that's the one. He texted me
He's
that
still
video.
talking to you, that guy?
Of course he is.
He's talking to him. Pete's not talking back.
I'm telling you, my girlfriend that night, she was like, if that was my friend, I would never talk to him again.
Oh, please. His impression of you and your girlfriend was get a hotel room.
Yeah, baby.
Oh.
Well, that's because no one else was talking to him.
It was early in the relationship. I know how you guys are. That's good. So, nevertheless, look, what do I think of Aguilar? What do I think of? He continues to drive me crazy. Aguilar is a guy that, at this point in his career, shouldn't the light bulb be on? You can't drop the football like that. Dallas Goedert had a drop. Barely played, but what he did should have been 6. Just drives me crazy. The drops drive me crazy.
Peter, look, if they lose the game, look, we did who's in, who's out today. I have them out. I mean, unfortunately, if they lose the game on Wednesday, if they lose the game on Thursday night, they're 1-3.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
Yep.
They're in trouble if they lose Thursday, I should say.
I think they're in trouble already.
What about the running backs, PT? I mean, that's a big topic of conversation. Are you sick of Miles Sanders? Are you screaming for Jordan Howard like some other people are?
I've been on the Jordan Howard bandwagon ever since probably the summer, quite frankly. I don't understand why you sign a guy and bring him in to not use him. That's the part that I'm baffled by.
Yeah.
Give the guy a chance. Now, I get it that maybe there's not a lot of running lanes for any of the running backs, but Sanders, obviously there's another guy, drop the football, and can he do electric things? Yes. Get somebody in there that's a proven veteran, a guy that's done it before. It was just a bad game altogether. I mean, the only good plus out of the Lions game is that they're going to forget about it quick because they got to go to Green Bay.
PT, they lost to the Lions. I mean, God's sakes. All right, Pete Thompson Show, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. to 10 on 97.3 ESPN. He'll be, recapping that Eagles Thursday nighter on the Saturday show, and he's got his cast of characters on the Saturday show. All right. Phillies lose today. They are officially eliminated from playoff contention. Now what, Peter? Klintak fired, Kapler fired. They all come back. A lot of injuries. What's the what is the postseason thought process here now for Middleton?
Well, I'm real curious because I think one of two things is going to happen. Middleton's going to give it a status quo of, there were too many injuries for them to overcome and just push the rock down the hill. Or, because I've heard the name, if the Cubs miss the playoffs and the Cubs get rid of Joe Madden, I've heard that name many times. I've read it in multiple places that Joe Madden would be the kind of guy that would be the blend of analytics, has some analytics, but has enough old school that might satisfy the fan base.
Now, my buddy is a Cubs fan, and he's a Madden fan, but he says he's been terrible this year, and he's ready to cut the cord with them. He said he won him the World Series. It was great. I love Madden, but it's time to move on. He said this year he's been bad.
Well, wouldn't you take Joe Madden to win you a World Series then? I mean, new place, new face. He's a Pennsylvania guy, Hazleton, PA, right? So he'd be back in his home state. Why not go? Look,
I'm just telling you from a Cubs perspective, they think he's had a bad year as the manager.
Yeah, that's from a Cubs fan perspective. What?
Well, just remember the game he was in Philly, the pitcher had 14 strikeouts, and they pulled him out of the game because analytics, and the Phillies came back. That's the game that Harper hit the grand slam.
Right. I do remember that. That was one of the few bright Harper spots. This is a Phillies team that, added 5 All-Stars in the offseason. They put $500 million in their roster, and they might end up, I heard you guys talking, they might end up with a record worse. They have to win one more game, right? They're stuck in 79. They got to get to 80 to tie last year's record. They got to get to 81 to break it. Well, so far in the first half of the doubleheader, that didn't work out so good, did it? It's just,
well, you were catching today. That's why you weren't in school. Did you see the guy catching today?
No, what was his name? Pete Thompson?
No, but
it might as well have been. I don't know. This guy, I don't remember what his Gruyan or something.
Minute. Are you talking about the gentleman's physique?
Yeah, he was a little portly.
Yeah, yes and no.
Remember, my favorite Philly of all time was Mike Zagurski.
Yeah.
He looked like Gil and I did with our shirts off.
Yeah, Zagurski was part of a group of guys that was on the Sports Bash and then quickly got released, You remember there was like a bunch of guys.
He was released?
Yeah, we had a run there.
We had a run of Eagles, Phillies, anybody that came on the show, they got released like shortly thereafter.
Yeah, we were the kiss of death, Ryan. We'd get a guy's number, be excited. Great, we're finally going to have a Philly on. DFR.
Wah, wah. PT, there was an article posted on ESPN.com this morning talking about Harper and Machado and their impacts for their respective teams, and MG and I got into it a little bit earlier. I don't know how much of that you heard, if any, but I want your thoughts on this because one of the writers, Sam Miller, essentially questioned the Eagles, the Phillies tank, and where they're at now.
The Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
maybe.
I don't know. They're dog years, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to quote this a little bit and paraphrase it. He said, the Astros and Cubs made tanking to win look so inevitable, especially for a big market team. But the Phillies have made it look like a huge gamble. They're 2 full years out of the rough. They made all the go-for-it moves. They've drawn down the value of the farm system they built, and they're still only a 500 team with a negative run differential and no real team-wide strengths. One could imagine them getting better, but on the other hand, you could imagine Harper spending the next half dozen years wondering whether he made a huge mistake turning down the Dodgers.
Well, and don't think that Bryce, let's start with this. Don't think you didn't hear the Nationals fans cheer a little louder when he got struck out last night, or I don't know how he did in this afternoon's games, but, look.
He's not playing tonight, by the way. Him and Hoskins are both sitting tonight.
Sit everyone.
Yeah, now that they're eliminated, play the Frank Vincent, or what was the guy's name that you tweeted me, Gil?
Nick Vincent.
Pete Thompson.
Yeah, Nick Vincent. Frank Vincent's the actor. He's dead. He played Billy Batts in Goodfellas.
That's
Anyhow, this is what I know, Ryan. I know this, okay? When I saw that the Phillies probably were going to miss the playoffs again, and I was writing my column for Shore Local this morning, I sat there and realized, there's 3 teams in the National League, only 3 of them that have not made the playoffs since 2011. The Phillies are one in the National League. I have to put that in there. In the National League, there's 3 teams. The Phillies are one. Do you know the other 2?
Yes.
Yeah, the Padres and the Marlins.
Right. So the Padres and the Marlins. So don't go try to tout out Machado as being some guy that saved the Marlins. I mean, I understand that he's taking those 2 guys and trying to say, how did it work out? The jury is still out. I thought Harper's first year in Philly was okay. He had a few Roy Hobbs moments. He had that upper deck, tried to hit it in the stadium. He had one in San Francisco that he hit into McCovey Cove and just crushed the ball. He had one early in the season. I heard Gil talking about that. He's been okay. But has he been the impact changer and the game changer that they thought they were getting for $330 million? No.
Really? I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I think, and MG and I gave him grades and talked about his year as an individual. Like, he's not even on my list of issues, if you have one.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
One player does not instantly guarantee you the playoffs.
No.
I have no problem giving him a B, right, for his grade. If I was giving him a grade, I'd give him right in the B range. That's fine. But it's not Bryce Harper's fault that Andrew McCutchen blew out his knee. It's not Bryce Harper's fault that Matt Klentak overvalued what he was going to get out of Jake Arrieta.
All right, if you had to pick one, Peter, who comes back, Klentak or Kapler?
I would say Klentak if I was picking between the 2. I think Klentak
I don't know.
would come back.
I don't know, man.
Wow.
He's been here 5 years, and he's come up bupkis.
That's part of the reason why I read that quote, PT, is because I think I don't know where this organization is at right now.
I just got a text message that came in here from a gentleman, and he put a lot of thought on this, okay? MG, I think your stance on the Phillies GM manager is off a bit. Let me preface this by saying I am not a Kapler fan either, but I think Kapler gets a bit of a reprieve this year, or Klentak gets a bit of a reprieve this year. Keep in mind, some of the best deals are the ones you don't make. Go back to last year when they tried to trade for Machado. If that deal goes through, then you likely don't have the assets to get Real Muto. I would do the Real Muto deal 10 times out of 10 and give up Sanchez, who, don't forget, while a top prospect, yes, started to exhibit elbow issues. You guys are talking like he's going to win the Cy Young Award next season. Now, nobody said that you shouldn't have done that trade. We just said that the one pitching prospect they traded away for Real Muto. Some people like the move. Some people, look back and say, all right, whatever. I'm not saying it was an awful move. He said he hasn't even seen the majors yet. Well, a little of that's because the Marlins aren't trying to move him up, but he has been very good in at least the second half of this year. All right, did Clintek...
Real Muto, to me, is their MVP. And Real Muto is the guy that, to me, they have to extend. They have to find a way to get him to a long-term deal. That should be one of their priorities.
Well, and I think if they get the deal done with Real Muto, if Real Muto, for whatever reason, walks and you gave up your top pitching prospect without getting a deal done, then you got to really say, all right. Now, by the way, Sixto Sanchez this year in 2019 is, 8-6 with a 2.76 ERA. Very good WHIP, 1.0. He's been very good in the second half of the year. But that's neither here. That trade is I'm okay with that trade. I'm just hypothetically saying, that's one of the moves that he made in this offseason. He said he hasn't. Did Clintek anticipate 8 relievers getting hurt this year? No way. Did he anticipate Hoskins going over the summer? Nope. Maybe Hoskins isn't a corner piece, but at 250, 30, 100, and not losing 9/10 of your bullpen, it's a totally different season. Yes, it's easy to play the injury card, but you can't say that GM wasn't making moves to better the team. Look at Kingery and Hazley. I mean, but my point is this. Clintek has been here 5 years, and there's nothing from those 5 years that is like coming after 5 years of futility. You would think, all right, we sat through 5 years. Where are some of the guys that you can now say, hey, because we were bad 5 years, we have X, Y, and Z. Those guys don't exist. He just went out and got those guys now.
There's no plan.
Well, there's a plan. They just aren't going to tell us what the plan is, And listen, who's going to put the pressure on Clintek when his boss above him says, if we were there, we'd go for it. But if not, Andy McPhail ahead of him has the same attitude of, we're okay. We don't need to go for it. We're not going to go for it for a 1-game playoff or whatever he said right around the break. When the guy above you is telling you that it's okay to be mediocre, you're going to be mediocre.
All right, Pete Thompson, The Pete Thompson Show, Saturday morning, 8 o'clock on 97.3 ESPN. And I'm sure you'll have a lot of Eagles to recap on that show. You'll also probably Flyers are next Friday at 2 o'clock, PT.
You've already figured out my plan. School ends at 2:27, so I have the fourth period off. I got bus duty. I got to go do bus duty, but the minute that bus duty is over, and it's Friday, so those kids are going to get the heck out of Dodge fast. I'm going to go back and put the Flyers up on the big screen, and sit there and watch them from Prague, Czech Republic.
Yeah,
so
all right.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Saturday you'll have a little Flyers with Hunter and a lot of Eagles recap on the Pete Thompson Show, Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. on 97.3 ESPN. Thank you, Pete.
All right, good stuff, guys. Thank you.
All right, man.
So the guy who called into Mason Aton today, apparently you did not coin the phrase PT, but we appreciate the interaction and the engagement.
Absolutely. Love it.